Yeah, just let's have some quiet now, thanks. We've got some roving mics, and I'm quite happy to hand over the mics for your questions, but I thought perhaps we'd start with one general question, which it would be worth maybe asking Martin, which is just, in terms of your overall title, your documents, could you summarise how that encapsulated your approach to this edition?
Well, first off, some of you may know that this was an aim of an exhibition given by John Sikowski at the Museum of Modern Art, I think, back in the late 60s, as early as that. And I quite like the idea of sort of refreshing this notion. I mean, at the heart, the thing I'm interested in, probably more than anything else, is documentary work. I think, though, that when you think about that, it's such a wide category, and there's so many different ways of doing it. This is, if you like, what I wanted to show. And if there was a theme at all, it would be, new ways with documentary. But of course, even that theme is pricked by someone like Jude Dookie, who's as undocumented as you can possibly get. But that really, at the core of it, was what I wanted to actually show, because I'm a great believer in the individual voice, the individual photographer going out into the world and finding their particular take, their particular way of looking and thinking, and presenting the very best examples of that. So that really was, if you like, if there is a core activity, that was what it was.
Great, okay, thanks. Are there any questions that you have? And I'm hoping that gave you a little bit of time to maybe think of your own questions. Has anyone got any questions that you'd like to ask Martin?
Otherwise, you'll have to. There's someone.
Here we go.
Hello, Martin.
Hi.
I believe at the end of the exhibition, the decision has been made to actually destroy all the prints. I'd like to ask you, why have you decided to do that?
That's not technically correct. Some people, we're going to give the photographers, if they want it, the choice to have them back. But first we need to look, particularly at London Road, because London Road is a bit damp, at the condition of these photographs. But there are certain images, like the Billy Monk, part of the contract, if you like, we have, is to destroy them. So I think we will give them the option to have them returned, but they'll have to pay for it, in fact, because we don't have the budget to send expensive couriers throughout the world. Because, if you like, the whole point was that people came with their files, sent a small test print, we produce the print, it goes up, and then it would be destroyed. But in a sense, it's a shame to sort of, if you like, tear up all of these beautiful prints. So they'll have the option, if they want to pay for it, to be returned. If they don't want it, we'll tear it up.
Right.
Remember, most of these photographers, despite them being relatively new, have dealers who are selling the work. So it's absolutely essential that we don't overlap. We always said that these are not dealer prints. These are not prints for sale. They are prints purely for exhibition. So they're out of edition, and therefore will be either sent out of the photographer or destroyed.
Any more questions? Okay, I'm just going to ask you, how long have we got a question down there?
How successful do you feel the Biennial has been?
Well, with my very English modesty, it's not down to me to even think about answering that. How successful do you think it's been? Did you look around today?
I did look around today, I think.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I have.
Well, that's a good start.
Yes.
Helen, you're if you like, you're above it all. You can. Perhaps it's better for you to answer that.
Yeah, but I'm a bit biased. Just to say, from our point of view as an organisation, we've been in operation since, as an organisation since 2003. The first edition was in 2003. We've been in operation since 2001. The second edition was 2006, and the one after that was 2008, and that was when I came into post. And I've been very lucky to work with Martin on this edition, because this is exactly the kind of biennial I've always wanted us to produce, which is really exciting. It's about exactly what Martin was talking about, new work, and it was also being presented in very imaginative ways as well, and also in a range of different contexts, and in addition having it based in Brighton and Hove, I think it's made it a lot easier for audiences, exactly what Martin was talking about. So, and the other thing that we did with this edition, and again, Martin was very keen for this to happen, which was to create a critical focus around the opening weekend. So that meant that we really produced a huge number of events, artist talks and panels, and Martin played a key part in devising those panels with a focus on the digital and how it impacts upon photographic books and publishing in general around photography, and also the impact of the digital in terms of the production of prints and the impact on the print technology. And so we had this kind of critical mass going on, and in addition we staged a publishing hub, and Martin had many suggestions of drawn from his networks overseas and also in the UK of key both publishers and also booksellers. So we had this really exciting space that we opened up here around South Biennial and also in the entrance to Salisbury area. And we had a huge number of people. It was a complete sellout in terms of the talks. So that was really exciting for us as an organisation. And then the other element, so basically it meant that a lot of people from overseas came to visit. And again, the other thing that we did, which was different, was to try and find a way to ensure that the international photographers, I mean, basically it's a festival of international photography. I mean, all of the people who have been presented that Martin selected have come from outside the UK, except for Stephen and Jill. And the majority of our artists were able to be present. And again, that meant that there was another reason for specialists from overseas to come to visit, because then they could meet with these emerging talents and do some business. And we did see a lot of business meetings taking place around the publishing hub. So again, that was also a new turning point for us, and it's comparable to the way in which a lot of other photography festivals operate. Like ARL has an opening week, and similarly with Photo España. So from our point of view as an organisation, this is great. And then finally, and we've only just got the statistics for this today, in terms of our media evaluation, it's been again a huge gear shift, which again thanks hugely to Martin and again his networks in the media. And also we used a PR agency, but we've generated around about £1 million worth of equivalent advertising value in terms of the kind of coverage that we've got. So basically we've got a lot of coverage in lots of national media, from Sunday Times magazine to The Guardian, in the run-up to Biennial and in the opening weeks. So the only thing we're waiting for now is to finally find out how many people actually visited all of the exhibitions, because we won't know that till next week. So anyway, so from our point of view, it's been a huge gear shift, and it's been a fantastic opportunity to work with Martin in this particular context of the Biennial.
One thing I'd like to say, because we have a lot of students here, is I think this whole idea of frame-free, I don't know how many of the students here actually present their work in frames when they have their degree shows, but to me this is a very viable and exciting option, is not to frame it, because every week I get 2 or 3 requests, we're trying to raise money for our London shows, will you send us a print, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I don't go into details, but I try and support the colleges that I have a connection with, which are very few in fact, because I don't have so many connections with colleges. But one thing that slightly annoys me about this is that I find it very sad that you often find a student will invest a lot of money, say, on framing their work, which is up for 5 days, but they don't have a website. If there's one thing you've got to have when you leave college, it's a website. It is your absolute way in which people are going to notice who you are. Myself as a sort of curator, if there's someone telling me about something, the first thing I do is go to their website and look at their work, okay? And this is something that, in fact, rather than the London show, because in a sense you could argue now a London show is redundant. Not many people come, you have a nice party, of course, you bring all your friends, but if the role of this is to try and actually get people interested in your work, it doesn't really actually function, because, I get invited to, during the season, which is sort of May and June, sort of 5 or 6 shows a week, but I can't go, I just haven't got the time. But if I got sent, a sort of brochure, a sort of internet thing with 2 or 3 pictures with the leads on the electronic handout of their websites, I'd be much more interested. So there's a tip for you. Don't think about investing in expensive things, invest in an extremely good website. It's your path to getting things done and getting people to notice your work.
going on from what you just questioned Helen, how do you feel like what you learned from this, what you found out from this biennial, how it will shape the next?
That's a very good question. Yes. Well, we normally start, I normally start planning about 3 or 4 months ago. This one we're actually planning now for 2012. And it's very, very clear to us that there's two things, I think. I think it's fantastic to have worked with Martin, who already has a media profile. I think that's been something very different to what we've done in the past. And the other thing, which we are very aware of now, is that the photo editors, it basically took coverage in the print media at national level. Most of the coverage were photo-led stories, so basically, or photo-based editorial. So, and the reason why the photography editors of those nationals were so keen to work with the biennial and to present the work is because Martin did such a fantastic selection of images, predominantly new people, voices that had never been seen of or heard of before in the UK, and the photography editors were just desperate for this material. And so there was a bit of a bun fight basically that took place in the summertime over who would get what, because everyone just wanted to be the first to show this work. So I think there's two big important things that we've learned, which is ideally somebody who's already known and has some sort of public presence, but also to show new work that's exciting, that's directional, and that's looking forward. So we'll definitely reflect on that. And just to explain, actually, in terms of the structure of the biennial, we have 3 elements which Martin worked with very, very comfortably, which are premiering recent and new work, commissioning actual new work, new commissions that is, and then thirdly, historical work, kind of like presented in new ways or revised or reappraised historical work. But really with this edition that Martin's put together, I'd say the big focus has been around premiering recent and newly produced work and also the new commissions. I'd say about 80%, would you say?
That's really our core, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's worked, as I say, it's worked brilliantly well. So it's definitely something we want to carry forward.
And why who couldn't get any couldn't work in the community? And how does that allow that future?
Oh, that's, to be frank, this is the issue around customs and excise and the fact that they've changed the regulations like on almost practically monthly basis. So in fact, the visa regulations have just become much tighter, and it was just one of these things. It just gone through, nobody picked it up, and that's how it came about that Alec got caught at Heathrow. So yeah, it's a bureaucratic, technical headache really, because they're making it much harder now for artists from overseas to come into the country to do work. Yeah.
Of the emerging talkers, was there any in particular pictures that were loving?
It's pretty much shared around, really, isn't it?
Oddly enough, I mean, the Dictator Planes was quite, a lot of people expressed interest in that, and Billy Monk. A lot of people, photography editors, were keen on those works. Yeah.
Chastelberg.
Chastelberg, yes,
Yeah.
definitely.